Let's do it.
So, hello, this is Oliver from Your Golf Travel, and I've got two very well-known guests here. So, Mark Crossfield and
Hello.
YGT Rory, who you guys will be a lot more familiar with than me. I just work with Rory, and I've played golf quite a few times with Mark, but we've known each other for a long time, though, haven't we?
We go way back.
We go way back, and I've also got things like so Sophie, who's appeared in the videos as well. I used to go to university with Sophie, so it's all, there's a lot of connections there. So,
Oliver's not giving himself enough credit there because obviously he's world famous for hitting one of the best plot balls in Spain on a video ever. Whenever Oliver's name is mentioned, my audience just find that clip and play it.
I mean, I've got to be honest, that was not the worst shot I hit.
No, but it was the funniest. Was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the other thing as well. Like that wouldn't have been as good without your expert camera work. So you've got to take some credit.
Yeah, it was the ripples made.
Well, thankfully, I only had one view of that, which was me going long, but you managed to capture it from that angle. So yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, that's yeah. So we go way back. We had that crazy trip round Andalusia a few years ago, which was Greatest 18. So do have a look on Mark's channel if you fancy watching me play some very, very average golf. But we had fun, that's for sure. So what we're going to have a quick talk about, obviously 2020, a really, really strange year for everything, golf included in that. But we still got some positives. A lot of stuff has happened in golf. Obviously, from like different times for the majors, the new WHS to obviously there's this guy called Bryson. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's really been working on his putting, I think.
So, he has actually, yeah.
He might well have done. Yeah. So yeah, that's so yeah, just going to go through some of that, and so what I thought we'd just kick off with is just looking at so obviously we're all based in the UK, so it's the champion golfer of the year, but that didn't happen for the first time in a very long time. Rory probably knows the year the Open Championship started, but I won't hold him to that at this moment in time. No, okay, that's the first golf question that Rory doesn't know the answer to.
18 something.
yeah, that's fine. I think like kind of 1860 odd. That's which is definitely the right answer. But yeah, so
I'm just going to nod my head to this one.
Yeah. So what I thought we could just start with is that golfer of the year. So I'm happy to start with who I think that is. I think there's like a variety of different reasons. I mean, first things first, he's not my favorite golfer. He is certainly not someone who I'm really interested to see how he's got on in a tournament, or even when he wins. I don't necessarily feel like that much for him. But I think just all about the money, really. It's Dustin Johnson. I mean, his finish to the season was tied second, win second, tied third, tied sixth, tied second, first. I mean, it literally sounds like Mark Crossfield's end to his junior golf career, just obliterating fields left, right, and centre. But he's just someone that I don't warm to, but he's so impressive. For me, if anything, he possibly goes under the radar. It's someone that I know it seems crazy because he's got wins all over the place. He's got a huge, really impressive PGA Tour record. I think it's pretty similar to Tiger's, isn't it, Rory? He for number of wins or something like that, or wins over a certain period of time.
Yeah,
so it's back, so I thought you'd know it.
I think he's won in every season for the last 10 years in a row or something like that, and the only player to do so. And he also wins big events as well. I actually spoke to Mark and Lockie recently about something similar to this, and I actually really like DJ. I quite like the fact that he's quite even keeled and just pretty relaxed all the time, or at least seems to be. And yeah, I think there's an argument to be made. There's no point in trying to say the next Tiger, blah, 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 because it's an unfair comparison. But I think between him and probably McIlroy, if you look at their records, he's definitely the best player from the last decade, I would say. And it's probably not even that close. And apart from his propensity to chuck majors down the drain back in the day.
So yeah, my choice for golfer of the year, and I would guess that Mark might agree,
would be Bryson. I think with the whole lockdown thing and where he went in to where he came out of lockdown and the things that he's doing and challenging some ideas that have been rooted in the game for a long time could be viewed as wrong. And obviously people kicking up a fuss about or taking a very black and white view as to what he's doing in terms of trying to hit it further and whatnot. I think he's kind of challenged himself, challenged traditional ideas in the game, and he's gotten a lot better. And it's not going to work every single week, but interesting to see what he's trying to do at least. And obviously won the US Open by 6 shots, something like that. I would vote for Bryson in terms of golfer of the year.
Yeah, so for me, it's a good point. I mean, I without actually looking at the actual stats of who has had the result-based best year, which I've not looked at between DJ and Bryson, DJ just consistently performs and blatantly is just a world-class player. Love or hate, I don't think anyone actually hates DJ. You can't hate someone who's just so neutral. I don't find him particularly exciting to watch. I find his golf exciting to watch, but I don't endear to his personality as a spectacle. So it's subject to what you're kind of buying into. Bryson, as a spectacle when it comes to playing golf, is possibly more because the excitement of something very new that he's pushing is definitely amazing for me as a coach to watch it move on and try and move on and develop. But then he's like, you couldn't get more polar opposite personalities almost, because you've got more of an outspoken, someone who wants to talk about that what's in their mind, even if what's in their mind at that time is slightly abstract, it'll still come out. Where DJ doesn't let us know what's behind the shark eyes, does he? Which is where I don't enjoy that so much, because he just doesn't let us in. He doesn't let us. We all think he's not very clever. People say things like that. But Rory McIlroy posted recently after he won the Masters saying, he's cleverer than he lets you know. And I do think there, and we discussed this last time, there's very different filters between the two players. When it comes to just golf, again, I don't know without looking at the stats. It's hard to pick between those two. They're the two major champions this year. We have 3 majors this year, didn't we?
Yeah.
Who won the PGA? I can't even remember.
Morikawa.
That's right, yeah. Which is a shame. I wanted to see him push through
That
more.
this year?
Obviously, he pushes. Yeah, that was in San Francisco.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Harding Park.
Yeah, he pushes a very different narrative, which is what's so great with golf at the minute, is that you have got very different skill sets proving that they can win.
No, Mark. It's just the Bombers. It's just the Bombers.
I know. I know I didn't remember that he won that major, but that's more to do with who I subscribe to paying for TV than it does if they get it long or short. So, I mean, his year has been fantastic. For me, Bryson and DJ are almost on a draw. I struggle to pick one. I would pick Bryson a little bit more just because I'm excited to see where the experiment goes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Bryson opened up, or at least got maybe casual golf fans discussing what he was doing as well.
100%. We said this in one of my podcasts. I had the lady at Starbucks asking me about this scientist in golf before the Masters started. He does touch with his voice and his golf message an audience that is far more excited to see what's going. Any sport that has a shift, sport that has a shift in its performance, the world outside of golf will look at what those shifts are about, just because it's interesting that because at the end of the day, it's a human development. So you can read it as golf only, but it's not golf only. It's like a sprinter all of a sudden running a second faster. I'm not studying sprinting. I don't watch sprinting. I'll watch the Olympics at the most. But if all of a sudden the press comes that someone's run particularly faster than someone else, be interesting to know why that human's so much better than another human, just as a human. And that's where Bryson touches more, where I don't think DJ does at all. DJ gets more global press when he has his issues that were brushed under the carpet, in my opinion. Not sure if they were issues, because they were like, that's
6-month ban.
Yeah, 6-month ban, but no test. I don't know what happened there, but as in that would touch bigger audience. But then the golf for him, golf's amazing. Seems like a great guy. I wasn't fussed of the back nine of the Masters because it just didn't feel like it was going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. Like Bryson has done more for golf this year than anyone else, because exactly for the conversation with the lady in Starbucks, like, because we're all massive golf fans, and the reality is we just want more people playing it, enjoying the game that we really enjoy it or really enjoy playing. So I think that's actually a really, really good point. Like, we're all just we've got to appreciate what Bryson's done, because it's encouraged loads more people into it, and probably actually also highlighted the athleticism that isn't really associated with golf. Like, no one ever thinks that, the gym work that a lot of the golfers do, to obviously prevent injury, but also improve their performance. It really doesn't get noted. Like, I actually I had a golf scholarship at university. I went to Loughborough, and we had all sorts on our available to us. I didn't take advantage of that. I know it's hard to believe looking at me, but that, there was that opportunity there to like really go onto it, but we didn't have like TrackMan or any way of like really measuring all those different, the different improvements. I mean, we were literally pacing yards and being like, I mean, makes me sound like I'm really old, but Mark knows.
No, I remember pacing yards. Pacing yards out.
And you wouldn't, you'd just play a golf course and look at a 150 marker and try and hit it's
if you were 2 over, you would look where the 150 is and guesstimate it. If you were 2 under, you'd pace that bugger out, wouldn't
you? What's this 2 under thing that you guys are talking about?
Look, James is pacing over there. He's doing well. Bob's over there has just hit that. He's having a nightmare. It literally was like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's But it's great that the game's moved on, and like, we can get more people involved in it and interested in it. That's all the better for us. So we've obviously touched on the best. I just wonder, like, who do you think is, who's been the worst golfer of the year? This is clearly subjective. Okay, well, there you go. You must be having withdrawal symptoms, because you play so often, and you must have. You haven't. Obviously we've been in lockdown or lockdowns, so. I mean, what do you reckon? Have you played like a quarter of the golf you would have normally, or?
Yeah. So before the first lockdown happened, I played in Abu Dhabi, and then that was my only overseas trip this year until August, I think, when I went to Costa Navarino, which was great.
Lovely place.
Yeah, it's amazing. The second visit there firmly sealed that in my like top 5 all-time resorts. I think it's incredible, and you've been there as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I love it.
And since then, I played with Mark at Saunton.
And Burnham. Did we play Burnham this year?
Yeah, that was very, very early after the first lockdown.
Correct, that's right.
Both days were like 40-mile-an-hour winds. And I played last week, actually. I played Stoke Park. And because I'd left my clubs in Devon, thinking that's me done for the year, I was on an old set of clubs, which I hadn't seen for about 10 years. Actually, the Nike driver I bought from you, Oliver, years back, I didn't have an umbrella and I didn't have waterproofs, and it was pissing it down all day. So literally like 4 hours of just me getting absolutely soaked. But I was so happy to be out on the course, I just didn't really care. So yeah, maybe I'll vote for myself for worst golfer of the year.
It's a difficult one, worst golfer of the year. I wouldn't know the answer to that. I would say most disappointed golfers of the year. Rory McIlroy would be possibly wanting to have won other things and maybe contended more in some of the events he wanted to. But again, without looking at his stats, I'm sure he's come second 10 times or something, or they're just not giving him any credit for it. That's the general pattern with Rory, because our expectations are so high for him. So I'm not sure who would be the worst. I'm happy to vote for Rory too. That as in Rory, your golf travel, Rory.
I think Tiger's got a shout for worst golfer of the year, because obviously the excitement following what he did at Augusta last year, and he's just basically not played since then. He's like played, I don't know how many events, but I would guess it's probably around 7 or 8 maybe. And then he won again in Japan to tie the all-time PGA Tour wins record. And then since then, not much has really happened. So
you and Tiger, Rory, it's like a dream come true.
Disappointing.
Yeah, I think we'll see more and more of
perfect.
that.
Perfect pair.
Yeah, we'll see more and more of that Tiger, won't we? He just clearly is like, he's not. It seems like he's not physically able to play more tournaments than that, which is fine. Like we're still gonna. As far as I'm concerned, he's still going to win. He's got a chance of winning every tournament he plays in. We'll just see him, a little bit less as the years gone by. Yeah. But I also very harshly picked another Rory. I know we just talk about Rory, but yeah, Rory McIlroy, just because it's incredibly harsh. But just if you look at the numbers, like he's lost the most world ranking points. I think he's still like top 5 in the world, but he's just lost the most because obviously he had a good year last year compared to this, and kind of his results post lockdown weren't really up to the heights that he'd set before. But I still we're going to go into first major, and we'll look at first major and going to the Masters in April, and I still believe he'll win that. And I think he'll get the Grand Slam. But just looking at his numbers, he's not had a great year. But that's I think that's a really harsh way to judge someone, to be like just on your world ranking points.
Because I mean that could be people pushing up more than him pushing down. Obviously, you've got Bryson's pushed into maybe 6th in the world, or is he more now? I don't know.
That sounds about right.
DJ's had a really good time, so maybe he is not pushing up, and they are. I mean, I don't follow the world rankings well enough.
The world rankings,
is it? Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. I definitely think he won't feel like he's far away from winning what he needs to win, but at the same time, there'll be a part of him that will be wanting to push harder. We talked about him in a podcast I've just started with Scott Fawcett and Lou Stagner, and when you look at his results speak for themselves and make him one of the best players of our generation by a mile. As Oliver said there, he's far from finished. He's got so much more to give, and I think we're going to enjoy watching him for years and years to come. It's just a shame his putting doesn't push up. His putting needs to push up. All his other stats are super, super good.
Have they improved at all? Because I know he did because he was doing a lot of work with Brad Faxon, wasn't he?
Yeah, Lou's the stat man. I rely on him. I'll say something and he'll be completely wrong because I've not looked at him. When we spoke about it, he is in the middle to bottom run of stats collected for putting, where his others are always at the top. So if he could be a medium to good putter, you're talking not quite Tiger, but you're not far off. So it is.
You see, when he puts well, he wins, basically.
Yeah, well, he certainly contends and wins. But your question, is it getting better? I don't know which way it's trending. Again, that's where I would rely on people who are way smarter than me. I'll just say something that's just not right. Not look like as big an idiot as everyone else. I don't actually know, but I know he could just hold a few more putts would be good.
Yeah. So the I think this is a really silly question, like a completely pointless one. So I was like, what's the best major? But like, I think from memory, the only one I watched in any sort of detail was the Masters. The novelty of it being in November, I think, added to it. And like Dustin did make it look ridiculously easy with that narrative of like Bryson's going to be knocking it nearly on the 13th, which I think he had like drive a wedge one day, but like it's like that was kind of the narrative beforehand. But yeah, I think that's just a bit of a silly one, because I'd be amazed if you guys weren't. It's like, yeah, it's the Masters, but it's probably the Masters every year, isn't it?
A little bit. For me, I thought the US Open was exciting because obviously we got to see Bryson bring everything together. And you've got to remember, it was Wingfoot, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We spoke to Ryan Fox, who played in that event. He said the hitting the fairways there was some of the hardest fairways he's ever tried to hit. Not only were they narrow, you're coming at an angle, which obviously narrows it more, and they were slopey. He said, so seeing what Bryson was doing distance-wise and hitting the fairway amounts that he hit, he said was just not quite understood how good that was. And I still think now people don't really give any credit to how good that was. I think he was the only player under par, maybe one other, but I think he was the only player under par, which was just spectacular. The Masters was great because we just got a bonus event at the end of a pretty shocking year. I didn't like seeing that course with no fire. I didn't like seeing that course with the different colours. I enjoyed that it was on because it gave us a bonus of other things to watch. But if that course was played in those conditions all the time, as in that soft, it would become a pointless major.
Yeah.
20 unders would be for ease. It would be ridiculous because what was so funny with the narrative, you had longer shots into second shots into par fives and other par fours than you've ever had for years, yet the scoring was the lowest. And the scoring was the lowest because you give these guys 200, 220, 230 into a hole. They don't care. The ones who are hitting it good will hit long irons, hybrids, 210 foot and make eagles. I think people look at themselves and think 230 over a lake, tiny green. Oh, I'm never going to do that. It's so good. They can do that, and they've done that for years. I can show you footage of Jack Nicklaus hitting a 2-iron into a senior tour event over the water to about 12 foot and holding it the winner senior major, I think it was. They can just do that. The ones who aren't playing as well, they'll miss more greens and shoot more, but the ones who are doing good, like DJ proved, will just nail it. You make those holes not as long, not as important, but you put the fire in the belly of how the Masters was designed to be played. Wide open fairways, very tricky greens. You've got the proper major that you've got. So where it was great to get another major, for me, it was a shame to see it play plug and stop golf because it made the back nine pointless when you had Cam Smith not in it as far as DJ. So Cam Smith wasn't reaching all the par fives with ease where DJ was, and he was 2 or 5 or 4 or whatever he was behind going in the back nine. So it was like, well, unless he holds second shots or DJ hits it in the rubbish, which DJ won't do because he isn't going to roll off and he can't hit it in the trees because there aren't that many trees to hit it in around Augusta. I think I'll turn off now. So I think it was a shame to see Augusta on its belly so much, where it was also brilliant to have that end of year treat of golf as well.
Yeah, I think I heard Paul McGinley sum it up quite well in terms of what you're talking about, Mark. But he said the top guys are amazing at point A to point B. If you introduce a point C, as in rollout, then all of a sudden golf starts becoming a little bit more tricky. So like you say, they can hit their numbers, and when it's really soft like it was at Augusta, then it's almost like being on a driving range for them. But I loved the Masters for different reasons. I think it's going to sound ridiculously spoiled, but it was nice to be able to actually watch it on TV for like the first time in 4 or 5 years. I wasn't there. So again, sounds like I'm a sport little brat, which I am. Thank you, Your Golf Travel. But yeah, it was cool to be able to watch it on TV. And I think the Masters app was brilliant. And made it a lot more accessible.
Yeah, I think best app in sport. I think it's really got that received an awful lot of plaudits, which is great for us as lovers of the game of golf, for that to be like recognised in that way. I thought they did an amazing job.
Yeah, so yeah, for me, Masters won it for lots of weird reasons, but I didn't actually watch the US Open, I don't think. But
the US Open felt like a true major in an untrue year. Not that the PGA didn't follow it as much, and it was on a course again that I've never seen played before, so those things are different. But the Masters just felt like it was great that it happened, but you would never want that to happen like that year on year. I mean, it would lose everything it's ever built up if that was it from now on. It just wouldn't work.
It's tough to watch golf as well without fans. Sorry, Oliver.
No. I kind of hadn't thought about that, but it was the amount of shots, or like drives and drive and approach shots that were literally just like stopping dead, and that sort of thing. I hadn't really thought about that too much because yes, it is we've all been there in April, so there is definitely a bit more run and obviously using all the camber and things like that. It's perhaps some of the shots that. It'd be interesting to get feedback from people, obviously, that played in it. Us three didn't get an invite this year, but yeah, just how different the golf course was. So, and if some of the shots were actually easier than they have been over previous times, because I mean, obviously, you still got 12, which is incredibly difficult all the time. But you almost think like, potentially even that second shot into 11. Like I felt like I saw a lot of good shots in there. That I haven't seen over previous years, and perhaps that was to do with it being a bit softer, but we'll never know.
Well, I think it's simple maths. I mean, if you think of the land angle that longer shots are coming, as soon as land angle starts getting flatter, you are introducing a different element of lack of control. So then you go and add Mother Nature into the fact that you can't control how that ball's going to stop because it's coming in flatter. You've got now two elements that no matter how good you are, you're going to have less control of. So if you've got Langer hitting longer clubs into holes, but he knows it's going to stop, that's so much easier for him now, even though he's having to hit those longer shots. So you then give DJ less longer shots, but longer than he normally has, and it stops when it lands. I mean, it's just like throwing darts. It's throwing darts. So if you've got, DJ hitting a 9-iron into a hole, and it might kick left into the water, spin off the green into the water, those kind of things, it makes it harder for him to do what he did. Where having it land and stop, I think that's why we did see a bit more of a rounded leaderboard, because it allowed Langer, who wouldn't be able to stop it very easily with his land angle, to actually compete, like get in there and hit shots that aren't going to bounce off. If he's getting 20 yards to run out of approach play and DJ's getting 7, well, it's 13 yards of unpredictability that on each approach shot that Langer's having to deal with, which, unless you're on the luck of the draw, that is not a winning game over 4 rounds. So where it was great, we got a rounded leaderboard, it was also not what the Masters is for me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Mark, because this is the sort of thing I genuinely look, I don't know an awful lot. I know it sounds silly, but I don't really know a lot about golf, like the technicality of all that. But the way you've explained it there, I'm like, oh, actually, it all does make sense. So I was literally just like, hit it longer, you get a shorter iron in. But when you start talking about landing angles and stuff like that, it makes total sense. But definitely something I'd never thought of or considered. So well done for knowing your craft.
Thank you very much. It has to be said, it was great to get 3 majors this year. It felt like a treat. All of them felt like a treat, because in a year where we got nothing apart from punished, it was great to get 3 majors that we could actually watch and enjoy and feel like we are still human beings who love golf.
So hopefully on a slightly lighter subject, and I've looked on my desk here, and this is actually really quite apt that I've picked this one, because I've sort of what's the best tweet of the year that you've seen, and I follow Eddie Pepperell. I'm sure lots of golfers do. I really like his sense of humour. So his tweet was here on the 2nd of July. I got a screenshot of it, and it says, with every drive Bryson hits, I see my impending barista job come closer. And I really like, because Eddie's incredibly self-deprecating, and for someone that's so talented, and has won on the European tour, and he's performed well in majors as well. He's I know he's had good finishes at USPGA and also at the Open, where he came out and said that he probably had too many glasses of wine the night before when he played at Carnoustie. But I've actually he tweeted saying that a book he recommended, which is Marching Powder. So I've got that here. I'm reading that. So Eddie should get some commission from Amazon or any other good book retailer for that recommendation. But yeah, I just to be honest, I like Eddie. There's also another guy called Club Pro Guy, which if you've got any appreciation of golf professionals or club professionals, my brother's one, and I spent a lot of time in a pro shop growing up as a junior, so I feel like I can appreciate that. But yeah, that was my tweet of the year, which is Eddie Pepperell. What about you, Rory? Is anything on social you really enjoyed?
I'm going to give a shout out to a guy Mark mentioned earlier, Lou Stagner. As Mark definitely knows, and Oliver as well. We get pretty wound up by some of the narratives that fly around the internet in terms of golf and stuff like that. And basically every tweet that Lou puts out is just a data-driven statistical proof of people getting things wrong in the world of golf. And it each and every one just makes me chuckle. So I'm not going to say tweet of the year, but one of my favorite Twitter accounts to follow is Lou's, because basically every tweet he sends is just nope.
Lou's great. Lou Stagner, definitely give him a follow. I can't agree with you more there, Rory. What Lou does is he just shows you data around a subject that's either someone's posted or something that he thinks is interesting that he's found out. And sometimes I do think it's quite interesting, some of the debates, if I say debate in the loosest possible way, that come from some of Lou's tweets, because You would only debate Lou's tweets, proper debate, by posting counter stats. You wouldn't
but this
go
is
on
what people
Twitter.
posted.
Yeah, but so people start posting.
Yeah, so this is the evidence, but my opinion is this.
Yes, exactly. So it's like, oh, so okay, so we're instantly not on the same wavelength here. We're on a platform where wavelengths are easily missed. This is going to go well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I agree. Like, Lou's are great. I don't actually follow Eddie because I don't really follow that many people on social because I try not to.
I'm pretty sure you don't follow Your Golf Travel. I'm sure.
I must follow them. Hang on, let me just check. Of course I do. But Eddie's Pepperell's tweets pop up a lot, and I agree his sense of humor is great. I think what's interesting with Eddie as well, this is not a put down because I think he's great. I just think in a sport where we have so little personality, to have someone with some personality just shines through as a massive personality, doesn't it? And that's not a put down because I think he is witty and smart, and obviously a great golfer as well. But so I'm happy to the tweet that you read out there is now one of my favorites because I thought it kind of hit the nail straight on the head for me there.
Yeah, it's like that's two of your favorite things, isn't it? It's like golf and coffee.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
What more do you need?
Exactly.
Okay, so probably a little bit of like humor that we've all enjoyed there. So some good Twitter accounts for everyone to check out if they want to. But one of the things which is a bit of a weird one, but I was thinking like, what is actually the worst thing in golf? What was the worst thing in 2020? And it might be really simple in saying that like it was the lockdowns and the changes that we had. But if I'm being honest, I kind of felt like we had a narrative all the time. As soon as Bryson had done what he'd done, I just got a little bit bored with all the stuff coming out about distance, and you know that was the key thing for everyone to talk about. And I do wonder, sort of flipping it a little bit, and I actually mentioned at the beginning saying about if his putting had been amazing, would it have been so? Let's say that he cracked putting. I mean, I am so far from cracking putting. It's a joke. You're saying that Rory McIlroy isn't a great putter, but I don't know, I'd be off the scale on that. So, but let's say that Bryson had worked out some miracle method that he could one putt every green. Like, would we be talking about, oh, we need to change golf courses, we need to change how the game is played? I really don't think they would. It just felt like it was really unfair, because the reality is, like, all three of us, and I'm sure every golfer in the world has like tried to give it a dig on the driving range, whether that's a Happy Gilmore or just trying to swing it as fast as they can. But like, I lose all control when I try and do that. I get zero strike because I'm not very good. Or like, I can do it slowly, but as soon as you put pace on it, it can't do it. And like, I'm jealous. I'd love to be able to hit it that far, but I'm just accepting that I'm middle-aged and I'm weak, and that's so the fact he can do it is amazing. It's hats off to him. But I felt like there was too much of it. Just like, we need to change the game as a result of this, and it's such a terrible thing. When I think it's boring. I think it'd be a boring suggestion, just saying that it's an incredible skill that he's done. So that for me, what I felt was like the worst thing. I mean, is there anything else that you guys felt wasn't great this year?
Good points there, Oliver. And it's interesting to hear you talk as someone who is a good golfer, but obviously you're not. You got a family and work and stuff, so you're kind of like a layman's terms golfer to a certain extent. And again, I don't mean that in a rude way. I mean, you're like you're not studying why he's longer, all those kind of things. So I do think lots of people got frustrated with the distance ideas. I've seen it with the stuff I've been doing. And I think it's more for a misunderstanding of how you can generate distance and those kind of ways. I mean, just a simple question, reference you saying going faster that you lose strike and those kind of things. Zach Johnson swinging at 110 mile an hour, DJ swinging at 130 miles an hour. Who's swinging the fastest out of those two?
Yeah, well, as in their physical ability.
Who is swinging the fastest? Who is swinging the most out of their boots between those two?
Yeah.
Rory swinging at 109, me topping out at 150 now. Who is swinging the most out of their boots when we play between me and Rory? I honestly don't know the question. Without measuring him, I don't know. So I would hazard a guess that Zach is hitting at, I mean, I reckon he could push the 112 without doing anything, maybe 111 if he's swinging at 110. So It's not that your strike goes or that you can't go faster, because what will happen when I've measured lots of people is they do a swing. I got a great series with Andrew Rice and Martin Chuck at the minute. And if you watch off, we do 10 shots. We each do 10 shots, and then we're going to do it over about 6 months. So there's 3 episodes. And just what the average ball speed is that comes out of those 10 shots is your average for that data set. Okay. You should watch us hitting it. Like Andrew and Martin, and because I've done it a bit longer, so I had a little bit more awareness if I was going faster or not. They were swinging what they felt like was out of their boots, and it was slower. Like they would look down at the monitor and go, that's got to be, oh, that's a mile an hour slower. So your reference to strike isn't actually built on the fact that you are going faster or not. Yes, you might be putting more energy in. That doesn't mean you're going faster. So for me to do a golf swing and do a backswing where I bend down into a massive squat position, so like bum to the floor, and then try and hit the ball by jumping as high as possible, that doesn't mean I'll swing faster. But yes, I've put loads more energy into that swing. Does that make any sense? So going faster, you're mixing up if you put more energy in compared to if you go faster or not. You might have been going faster. Obviously, I didn't see you hit the shots, but I would put a lot of money on that you're actually not going any faster. What you're doing is putting a lot of energy in just at the wrong time, at the wrong place, and you're not getting it out of the club. So then there are other reasons why the strike isn't there, but you're relating it instantly to speed. To think that Zach Johnson isn't hitting out of his boots purely because he hits at 110 is a complete misunderstanding of the whole narrative, which is where people are getting frustrated because they think, oh, I can't go faster, I just mishit it. You're just not doing it right. And that's why
technique.
Coach.
Yeah.
To think that there isn't a junior at both of your clubs who is swinging at 89 miles an hour and they're not hitting out of their boots is ridiculous, because you know what juniors do and they strike it and can hit it. So I think the narrative gets messy. So I can see why people do get bored of it, but I find it really exciting because it just gives me more narrative to try and educate and put better content out to try and make people maybe look at it in a slightly different way that might help them, because I do think people are getting it very wrong. Simply, we did it in a video the other day. We took our speed to the course. We tried to take our speed to the course. And one of the holes, like I swung at 112, Matt swung at 122, whatever it was, and he outdrove me by like 10 yards or 7 yards because his delivery wasn't as good. And the point was so clear there. It was like, I swing at 0 face, 0 path and hit 4 up with my driver at 105. Well, I've got nothing else to work on. I'm striking it where I need to. I'm swinging it at 0 path, 0 face quite consistently. Like, if I don't move that to 115, then what? It's pointless. But the average amateur, and I said this to Matt, how many lessons have you had come to you who swing too fast? So they hit it too far for how much they put in. Everyone leaks. No one comes in maxed out. Like, you're talking a 0.1% at the most who come for a lesson, and they are maxing out for the speed they put in. So let's say you swing at 105, Oliver, you're probably getting the distance of a 95 player. Do you see what I mean? Because you'll have leaks.
Yeah. Oh, so
so you're saying you need to swing out your boots and it's not as good as you don't swing it. Well, no, what you need to do is swing at 105 and get the max out. Once you've got the max out at 105, think Zach Johnson. Then if you want to push forward, you need to get that 105 to 110 and then that 110 to 115, as long as you keep maxing out. I've played with Rory for years. He is hitting it almost as hard as he can when he's hitting a full shot. He's not hitting it any softer than Matt. He is just hitting it softer than Matt, but effort in, I would argue, is very close, if not the same.
Yeah, and that's technique. It's the same as, like, if I've spoken to a few people about this. It's actually like these things like, wanting to. I actually think there's similarities in boxing and golf, and a professional boxer can deliver a punch far better than all of us, and that's just down to technique, and and I think that's the stuff that we now have at our disposal, as in understanding. I mean, like you say, 4 up. I think that means 4 degrees up. I'm really sorry, I am a proper layman on this, but
so my angle of attack would be going up as I hit the ball, which is allowing me to max out basically.
Yeah, and you're probably meant to, and there's an optimal like delivery of loft, isn't there, on a driver? Like, isn't there?
Optimum deliveries of driver on loft, subject to speed and angle of attack. They all sync in together. And again, that's my point. Most people come for a lesson and they're 80% of what they put in.
Yeah. So I think that thing of the leaks and that sort of thing, and I definitely think that something we can all learn from, isn't it? We'd love to be as efficient and as great as we can do, and hopefully these leaps that we're making in terms of like understanding about distance is going to help us all, because we'd all love to hit it effortlessly miles.
Well, think of Bryson. He's a US Open champion. He was a PGA Tour winner. His delivery works. His delivery is proven over time to work. So he wants to be one of the best drivers in the world, which he wasn't. He was ranked way down for pretty much in the pack for his driving. What he did is he decided to become one of the best strokes gained drivers in the world, and he did it. And for some reason, that upsets people. I literally don't, that baffles me when you break it down like that. He went from being a medium strokes gained person off the tee and made himself the best, and somehow that, I mean, I think the message in there is bigger of why people are getting frustrated with that message getting out there, because it should be the most rejoiced message in golf this year, because he achieved something that not many, if any of us did.
Yeah, definitely. But hats off to, like, obviously yourself, you've documented it and all that sort of thing. It is showing that it is doable. I mean, obviously you've got a lot of, you've got some extra tools at your disposal, but everyone who's watching or listening to this is going to have access to a golf club and a golf ball, and you just know if you're going to, you do certain things, if you hit it further, then that's, that's you doing more of the right thing. So I think that's super.
It's no different practicing your putting. Sorry, Roy, you carry on.
I think some of the negativity surrounding the distance thing this year is people like to ignore the fact that golf is a sport, and like anyone can hold a 40-footer, or anyone can chip, anyone can putt, blah blah blah. But there is a certain limit. While we can all get quicker and hit it further, there is a certain limit to how far we as individuals can hit it. Bryson is a big, strong guy who's obviously worked on his body tremendously hard this year and figured out all the physics and all that kind of stuff that Mark's been talking about. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are like, right, I can't do that in terms of the actual output that he's getting speed wise. And so they're like, well, it's not skill then. So I can't do that. I'm going to slate it. It's not fair, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, it's like saying Usain Bolt was cheating because he was taller and quicker than everyone. It's like, I think that's where some of the negativity comes from in terms of the distance debate. Is that we aren't all equals when it comes to physicality. And so, yeah, like I said, while we all can increase our numbers, we can't all do what Bryson's doing, basically, or DJ. Or I
think that's, sorry, Mark, I think you made a really good point. I haven't really thought about that, about actually just like, if you looked at just swing speed, like Rory is going to be, and obviously I've played with Rory. I've looked for a lot of golf balls with Rory as well. He is really trying. Ouch. No, but Rory, you still give it a good dig, and that's all that matters, because as we've discussed before, if you outdrive someone, you win. That's the rules in golf.
Correct.
But, yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually. Like you might swing it fast, but there's technique, delivery, all of that sort of thing, and that's as fast as you can go. Whereas Lockie, who I've also played with and also looked for golf balls with, he does. You know that he's got quite a lot in him, that he can give it a real dig, and the numbers that he's been putting out of late. I definitely don't want to play with him again, because
he can send it. But really
he
interesting,
hit about 100 past me at Saunton.
He sent that one, didn't he? So when we took our speeds to the course, granted he hadn't hit as many balls as I had in lockdown because I've got my net in the garden here. I beat him on ball speed on one of the 5 or 6 drives we had, and at no point was he particularly much faster than me when he had the ball speed, because his delivery was more erratic. So he would have ball speed, he would have loads of head speed, but his ball speed was nowhere near as fast as it should have been for the head speed he was putting in, where my ball speed was fast for the head speed I was putting in. And what happens is you end up with these ideas having a really brilliantly rounded game, and that's where people get confused. It's not rounded, it's super rounded at the moment. You've got Zach Johnson, who'll still compete to majors and players in his ilk, and then you've got the Brysons and his ilk who'll follow him, who'll still compete the majors and win. I would say at the moment we've got one of the most diverse groups of players, which at the moment are getting younger, which is only really exciting, I think, for golf, where it used to be such an older person's professional game. I remember Sevis and Faldos, that kind of idea. They peaked in their 30s and upwards. I think those days will slowly change, because it will become more about an athletic send, and I think the triangle's just getting bigger, so more people are coming in at the bottom, so they get through at a younger age. The negativity that I see, I think, is interesting, where we actually have got some of the most positive things going on with our game at the moment that I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, really, it's kind of, well, it's good that we're looking at, well, I'm suggesting one of the worst things is actually, as we've all sort of said about in longevity, it's actually a really good thing. So one final question. Obviously I think we've covered everything to do with golf in 2020. So now 2020 is done. We can look forward to 2021. So what's a simple one? What is the one golf course that you're most looking forward to playing in 2021?
Rory, you got one?
Me. I will go with something that's not completely out of the realms of possibility, but the Old Course.
Oh, I was going to say that as well. I've never played the Old Course.
Yeah, well, I think
do you know what? I haven't either. Isn't that that's quite surprising?
Let's all go to the Old Course 2021.
Yeah, I think considering the position that we're in, and lucky to have been traveling to a hell of a lot of places with your golf travel, I think it's fair to say that certainly you and I, Mark, and probably you, Oliver, as well, I think you might have played more golf up there than we have. But my golf in Scotland, I've not really done a huge amount. I've been lucky to do Turnberry a few times, which is amazing, Glen Eagles, and that's kind of it. I've never ever been to St Andrews, let alone played the Old Course. So I think, 18 holes in the Old Course and a pint of beer and the jigger in is definitely top of my list.
Yeah, well, for me, it's the Old Course, but let's not forget, I mean, I've been lucky enough to go to tour events at the Old Course. I've walked around it a number of times, watching some of the world's best play, which has been great. I want to play it as a tick-off box, as you say, but there's so many. How many courses are on the complex?
Seven.
You go there for 3-4 days and just golf yourself to death, don't you? I mean, it's a resort that is famous for that one Old Course, and I think it's forgotten sometimes that you've got some of the most fantastic golf courses. You got the R&D Centre, if it is still there, used to be there as well, which would be fun to go and look at. I'm not sure how easy access that is, but that's where they're testing everything that we know is legal and that in clubs. It's just an area that you've got to do. It's golf, isn't it? I mean, that just is golf. Let's all go to the Old Course.
Yeah.
Horrible. No lakes for Oliver to hit a plot ball into.
Yeah, I hit one into the there's the burn on the 1st and the 18th. I can hit one low into that.
I won't be able to get a camera ready for the plot.
Yeah, you just need to have it in position, because I'm quite risky around water. But I was actually going to say one. I mean, it isn't old. It's actually the Old Course at Sunningdale. I've been really lucky to play all over the world. Like Cape Kidnappers and Kauri Cliffs in New Zealand, so I'm called Wairaki. I'm half Kiwi, so I've played quite a lot over there. But yeah, the Old Course at Sunningdale, I don't know why, it just really suits my eye. It's actually not that far from where I live, but I haven't played it since it's over 10 years ago. Played Sunningdale foursomes, and it's just a really, really lovely place to go and play. Have you played that at all, Mark?
I played the new in the Sunningdale foursomes twice or once. I can't remember if we won in the first round. I think it was only once, actually. Burn. And I haven't played the old, which I would love to. So I'll join you there too. I'd love to play the old.
Yeah, that's well, I can sort that one out. So that's
all right. I've done neither of them. Blah blah blah. Let's move on.
You can come as well.
Lots of trees for you there, Ray.
Yeah, we'll be looking for golf balls a lot, but yeah, okay, cool. But thanks very much. As I say, we did overrun, but I think that's kind of, that was always going to be the case. I quite often call Mark for a 5-minute chat, and it's half an hour later we're both on the school run.
I can't shut either of you up.
yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so thanks very much for joining me. Hope you guys have enjoyed that. There's going to be lots of links in the description. Obviously, Mark's got a really, really great YouTube channel. You've got a couple of podcasts on the go as well at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 2 podcasts.
Do you want to say the names of them?
Hack It Out Golf is one of them, and Mark Crossfield Getting Stuck Into Golf is the other one, which are fun, chatting about all things golf.
And you've also just launched a new
website
as well.
mygolfgains.com. Loads coming on that over the next 12 months. You can become a tester for all the testing equipment I get. So I want to start getting people testing. We're going to be online lessons. We're going to try and do them slightly different to how maybe they've been done in the past. And there should be some tools on there at some point in the next 12 months that help you play some better golf and collect and understand stats in a better way. It's going to be an exciting little hub. That's me and Matt and another person doing that. So it's, a fun project.
So that's something where you're looking to gain on your golf, and you've called it My Golf Gains, right?
There you go.
See what you've done there.
See what I've done there?
Yeah. So that sounds really cool. Like a nice community, and obviously getting people. You're obviously really fortunate to test all the newest equipment and that sort of thing. So I'm sure that would be interesting even for people like me who has a really, really old set of golf clubs. So Rory mentioned about a Nike driver that I sold to him. I was like, I still have that Nike driver. Like that. He said, no, this is old one.
I think it was.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, mine was black. I don't even know the name of it, but that's obviously what's holding me back in all of my golf. I just need new equipment. That's how it works, right, Mark? You get new equipment. No.
Yes.
I think there's a lot to my game that would be that needs to be improved before I start leaning on the equipment thing. But yeah. Anyway, massive thanks. I hope to see you guys soon. And as I say, check out Mark's channel for loads of more great content. And we'll see you soon.
Cool. See you guys.
Bye.
Cool.